my first real psychedelic experience is that Ray Manzarek, you know Ray Manzarek?
Absolutely, dude. I'm looking at his album with Tony Williams right now.
Yeah, and also you know, what's his face? You know.
Well, with Jim Morrison, of course. Yeah, Jim Morrison. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, and Jim Morrison's ex-girlfriend, Candace, is a very dear friend of mine.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, she was with Jim for 3 years before he even did the thing in Florida.
Wow.
Yeah.
So anyway, you got dosed at a Doors show or Manzarek? What happened?
No. It was I read Huxley, and Morrison read The Doors of Perception, Heaven or Hell. I was at the Beverly Hills at a Capitol convention, introducing. I was vice president of rock.
Absolutely.
I was introducing the Apple Corps and Debbie Harry in the band I produced, The Wind and the Willows. And Debbie was in.
That's right.
And then Manzarek is a very dear friend of mine, and then he told me about Jim and what happened with the book, and that he tried it too. So I had to bring back a book for me, and I read the book, and then I called Debbie, and she knew people in L.A. It was in L.A. And that was it. It was organic Indian mescaline done the same exact way it's done on the reservations.
Native American mescaline?
No, it's similar. It's the heavy one. You know.
Oh, it's like ayahuasca.
Yeah, right. You know who Huxley is?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I want you. This is what I wanted
Huxley's book, The Doors of Perception, Heaven or Hell, tells the story.
Absolutely. No. I was going to say, but you wanted to.
It's all about Huxley experimenting with it.
With LSD. No, I dig. My question is, how did it fundamentally change your songwriting?
Oh, no. Well, you know what? The fact that I've been meditating for 20 years when that happened.
Whoa.
And the fact that I've been doing Buddhist chanting. And the fact that I'm a coin number one. And my Haftorah is the first 4 lines of the Torah. I have a lot of spiritual stuff going. Woodstock wasn't an accident. It wasn't just a drug dealer from Florida.
What do you mean?
Michael. What do you think Michael did? Michael came to me. Michael lived with me for a year and a half. I was living on Sutton Place already. I went from a Brooklyn kid to Fifth Avenue at Sutton Place. And before Woodstock, I ran Mercury, I ran Roulette, then I ran Capitol Rock.
Stop right there. You ran Roulette Records.
I put out Hanky Panky.
Dude, you were affiliated with the Jewish mafia and the weren't you?
Morris Levy, of course.
Oh, dude, Artie, let's just talk about this right now. First of all, what got you on? Did you know you were meditating? 20 years before that, you were a kid. I
wasn't meditating. Arti Kornfeld had to go to a lot of schools because his folks moved. But Arti Kornfeld was president of the class of '64 at Adelphi College. Arti Kornfeld pitched a perfect game against West Point. And Arti Kornfeld was all-state first-year solo symphony trumpet player. And then Artie started to write, and then he transferred to American University and started hanging out with Cass. And I picked up a guitar, and this is Cass Elliot.
Yep.
And Cass and I started hanging out. And then I left school 3/4 of the way through my sophomore year. And within 4 months, Compliment signed me to Screen Gems. So Donnie Kershaw signed me within 4 months after I decided I was going to be a songwriter. And then I met Jan Berry, and Jan and I wrote the follow-up to My Boyfriend's Back. I adore him. This is all of my first 3 months writing. And then we produced Johnny Crawford from the Riflemen, and then we had another hit. I forgot what it was.
Well, no. First of all, going back to the symphonic bag. I mean, I want to know, Luciano Berio. Were you listening to very avant-garde classical music at that time?
Oh no, I was more of I was playing classical music because That was a program in school. My folks didn't have money, so in order to get a trumpet, it was $1 a month, and you got a trumpet.
Oh, that
and a
is
lesson.
great.
And this is in North Belmont, Long Island.
Oh, beautiful, dude. What is that? Is that Suffolk County? I think so. Or no, that's Nassau.
That's not so.
Yeah. I'm a Suffolk County guy. Yeah, go ahead.
I lived on Comac Road. I lived in Birchwood Estates.
But you're telling me you were a closet bebopper.
No, I was just what I say. I maybe it might be a description. Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is that you played the symphonic music. There was probably not even a jazz program at Adelphi, right?
Oh no, I also played in the marching band. I played at half times. I played jazz.
Were you infatuated with the popular music of your parents' time during?
Well, just remember, my mother founded the Freedom Rides. I don't come from a family of dopes.
Okay, well, first of all, they were. Yeah, go ahead.
You know what the Freedom Rides were?
Art Blakey, dude. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people that went down to.
I read an article by Al Sharpton just about my mother, and in my book, check out the Pied Piper of Woodstock on Amazon. I didn't want to publish it. I published it myself, and there's a letter from the Congress of Racial Equality, a full-page letter just about my mother.
You guys had a hard scrap, but she was always an activist.
Always.
Now,
she started Save the Whales, you know.
She did?
Yeah. My mother was a trip, and my dad was Olympic swimmer and was a cop.
Were you going to? Did you get? Even though you moved around a lot, did you get a chance to see Clifford Brown, Max Roach? Did you get to see those cats live?
Yeah.
Can you talk about at that time? To me, the most appealing thing for young cats, especially white cats, was just that the jazz lifestyle, and to me, like that.
No, I was a rocker. I listened to. I even produced Murray the K's theme for his TV show with Murray singing.
Oh, that is fantastic.
I produced Murray the K, and I also produced the only time Woody Allen sang in a movie.
Which was what?
Chicken of the Sea. It was a small movie, and Woody called me and asked me to write something, and Jan Berry and I wrote it. And then I started writing with Brian Wilson, and just hanging with Brian was great.
So, Woody was basically a relatively unknown cat at that time?
No, don't forget, I also wrote 3 songs on the Cookies album, the one that had Chains. That was the big hit in England, and that the Beatles did the cover of Chains. Oh, I wrote with Goffin and King, Man and Wild. I wrote with Backrack. I wrote with Jimmy. I wrote with a lot of people. Buddy Miles was a good friend.
Were you? But I guess the idea of the genesis of roulette. I mean, Roger Hawkins, the Hawk, signed his life away and wound up moving to Canada and never came back. Dizzy was on that label. What was the genesis? Was that a Jewish mafia label?
Well, Morris Levy, Moish was his name.
Yeah, that was the original Birdland cat. You are Birdland, dude. You're Birdland.
He also earned the Peppermint Lounge. He ran the Round Table.
Whoa! I did not know that.
And he also had a horse ranch.
This is Jersey. Great, dude.
With Morris Levy, yeah. What happened was I was with Charlie Koppelman, and I met in a snack bar in Queens College at night. And I was bragging because I had cut a demo that I sold $50, and I cut my first demo, and I was in night school because I had left them because I decided I wanted to do music. I didn't want to be a lawyer.
Right.
And I actually roomed with Hubert Humphrey's son in Washington, D.C. No, I had you should get the Pied Piper of Woodstock. It's a hit in a lot of countries. And I just had the #1 internet.
Artie. But go back to you were.
Do you know about Bensonhurst Blues by Oscar Benton Blues Band? It was the #1. It was the #1. Whatever that's called.
But no, so Roulette. He had a budget label that
It was the #1 YouTube record last year. It was called Bensonhurst Blues.
Bensonhurst
Oscar
Blues.
Benton Blues Band, and I wrote it. And it's a Jewish song.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just #1 in the Ukraine last month.
Really?
Yeah, it was #1 in 19 countries.
Was it #1? Was it #1 in this country?
No, it never got played here. But it was #1 all over the place. Not only that, Alain Delon, the French actor.
Sure.
He heard the song. He is. He's like the Robert Redford of France.
Absolutely.
Well, he heard the song. The song was #1 4 times in France. And Alain Delon just said, if I ever write and produce my own movie, I'm going to use Bensonhurst Blues as the opening title, the closing title, and the background music. And I was coming out of Paul Marshall, my attorney. Paul Marshall, the lawyer?
Yes, sure.
Well, Paul was my lawyer. In fact, I got Richie Havens, his lawyer at Paul Marshall's, Joe Vagoda, who went on to manage Stevie Wonder. So anyway,
you originally connected with the guy who ran Roulette at the old Birdland.
Freddie Weintraub. Freddie Weintraub was one of my dear friends. That's the only reason there's a Woodstock movie. When I was running Mercury, Freddie brought me Leon Bibb from Canada, who no one knew here. And I spent about $110,000 doing a full symphony album.
Wow.
And I was the first person to ever cut a Leonard Cohen song. I cut Suzanne, and Leonard didn't even know it. Leonard didn't even know he had a record out, and it was by Leon Bibb on Mercury.
Bibb. You and Bibb were super tight, man.
Well, that album was really good with Leon because I was so used to doing rock. And working with Jan and Dean and with I produced the last 2 Cheryl's records, and I wrote them too.
When did the word rock come into the lexicon of music? A lot of people in the studios on the West Coast.
You know what? Rock, first of all, Morris Levy on Roulette managed Alan Freed, and Alan Freed came up with the saying, rock and roll is here to stay.
Oh, I love this,
and that's why
Thank you, Kornfeld.
That's why you didn't hear. Morris put his injunction on it so nobody could use rock and roll in any song. That's why it took about 12 years after the name came out for it to be used again when someone finally won a lawsuit.
What was the year that first song came out?
Rock and roll is here to stay was around... I would say around
55?
59, 50, 57.
50, yeah, that's right. So then once the lawsuit was gone, then people started to use that word more.
Yeah, in fact, Danny called me from Danny and the Juniors, and he sang rock and roll is here to stay. And he said rock and roll is here to stay, and he sang At the Hop. Those people keep in touch. Most of us have died out. I'm going to be 81, so like my band, I discovered Steve Gadd's. I was the first person to ever use him on a record. And Tony Levin from King Crimson. The Arti Kornfeld tree has the $1 billion rock band on it.
How did you discover Gadd?
Gadd's Hugh McCracken was my best friend and guitar player.
Oh, my God, dude. Hugh, man. Oh, my God, dude.
He was one of my best friends.
Hugh, man. That's who connected us, man. I can feel the spirit.
So Huey and I did about 40 projects together.
Wow.
And Huey was up in upstate New York near Eastman School, and he was going to arrange an Arti Kornfeld solo album called the Arti Kornfeld Tree on Dunhill. Now it's selling for $400.
I have a tattered copy of you and your wife at the time naked up in the tree.
Oh, yeah.
The greatest album of all time.
Actually, with the trunk down. Whoever I hired, I told him what I wanted, he did it.
I was like this, and then you're telling me that McCracken's like, I got this killer rhythm section up in...
McCracken knows his material, because I wrote all the songs
Holy
on the
shit.
album.
This is
and,
unreal.
Huey says, he says, I found a drummer and a bass player up here in Rochester. They went to the Eastman School, and they're really good. You want to take a shot and just go with me, and we'll book them to play on your album. He said they've never played on a record before, and they've never been paid to play. So I said, book them for the whole album, Huey, because I trusted Huey's ear over mine.
That was the greatest story of the calendar year so far.
Yeah, and then Undercover, Never to Be Repeated. I turned Gads on to Blow, and when he got strung out, I felt terrible. Because I also founded Cocaine Anonymous.
Right, no, Stevie, I've chronicled that Demiola, a lot of those cats could not believe he would be strung out, like in the studio, and they'd tape together some sophisticated fusion music, and he would just blow through it, and they'd be like, that's the same dude? I mean,
he talking about Steve Gadd.
No, I mean, he had to leave the studio scene altogether. You were obviously instrumental in getting him sober, too.
No, funny story, it is confidential. His McCracken calls. I was living on Sutton Place already, on the 50th floor. And Huey calls me and said, Artie, I'm in the studio with Max Rapidan, who's a friend of ours, and Huey produced him.
Dr. John?
Yeah, did you know that Huey arranged The Thriller's Gone and played the other lead with BB?
I mean, the man is he's just an assassin, dude. Unreal.
In my closet, I have 3 cuts that weren't released. I have 3 BB King finished cuts that were never released. No one's ever heard them.
So, Artie, I mean, is it fair to say that I'm always fascinated because a lot of the cats, the Tedesco on the West Coast was ubiquitous.
Tommy? You talking about Tommy?
Yeah, no, I just want to get through the question here, and then you can respond.
Tedesco and Pittman.
Yeah, a lot of the guys, not Tedesco, but Bill Pullman, Pittman, James Burton to a degree, when rock music came in to the fold, they became kind of irrelevant, and at that point, Larry Carlton, Dean Parks, and Louis Shelton took over. And
I'll tell you the truth, the New York studio band, because I worked with Hal Blaine, and Glenn Campbell was a friend of mine. They all played on Dead Man's Curve, you know.
No, I just want to ask you this question, and then you can riff. Who were the cats that preceded McCracken and because
I know who the guys. Charlie Macy on guitar.
Everett Barksdale.
Buddy Salzman on drums.
Yes, Buddy Salzman.
The guys playing on the song and record I produced, Rain the Park. I Love the Flower Girl.
Who was that? Say that group.
The Councils. I wrote and produced and arranged the first record. The Rain the Park and other things. I love the Flower Girl.
Oh yeah.
And you want to know something funny about that? I'm in the studio. I did the whole thing, and I mixed it. There was 1 million harmonies on that, and I finished the whole record, and I did a great mix, and then I called SIR. You know, it's what SIR.
Oh yeah, studio. Yeah.
So I said, send me over every tape you have with Rain on it. They sent me over 160 copies of Rain. I couldn't find the Rain I wanted on that record. So I called SIR. I said, you better come and take this stuff back. And as they were reeling out, this is my George Martin influence, I took a look, and there was one on the bottom that said, bacon frying in a pan. Okay? So I said to myself, I already thought it out. If I slow this down the way they slowed down the Elvis Presley Echo, and if I take it off the machine and wrap it around a mic stand, and I said, I bet it comes up with the Rain sound. And sure enough, it was in exact. I didn't tell the Councils till 3 years ago. So the whole life they went through pretending it was Rain, and they didn't even know it wasn't.
None of those SIR cuts.
They didn't play. That was all my studio guys.
Unbelievable. So I want you to just, for the record, this is really important for the audience. Who were those studio cats?
back then.
Who were the ones on that track?
It was Leroy Glover on piano, Kenny Asher, and also Kenny Asher.
Wow. Wow.
Bernard Purdy happened to be in New York, so he played on it. And Vinnie Bell played guitar, the Belzuki. Vinnie Bell, who created the Belzuki.
Yeah, dude, I want to talk about Vinnie Bell, dude. Vinnie Bell preceded Hugh?
No, Vinnie Bell worked on 20 albums with me.
But he was the
I hired him.
Right, but were he and Hugh peers, or was he in the studio before McCracken?
No, when I came in and I had my first hits in '63.
Yeah.
That was a studio band in New York. And Artie Kaplan, who even played the sax on Locomotion, he was the number one contractor in New York.
Dude, you and Kaplan were running the show.
Well, no, I was the boss, and I told the guys what I wanted, and they gave me what I wanted. And if it wasn't right, I changed it.
How did you get comfortable telling people what to do? Can you talk about a pivotal moment early on when you faced some adversity?
Oh, no, because I wrote. BMI has 350 of my songs registered, and 57 made the top 100 in Cashbox and Billboard, and 300 were recorded by Connie Francis and G. Pickney and those kind of artists.
Wow, yeah.
You know?
No, but I'm talking like you're down in D.C., you just sort of, I'm sure it's in your book, but it's like you gloss over the idea that you just waltzed into the Capitol Records, but there must have been...
No, I was I left Delphi, I was president of my class, and I resigned. I went to American, I ran across this heavy set. I get a job working in the cafeteria to make some money, and there's this heavy set girl in a corner with a guitar case open, and it's Cass Elliot. So we became friends, and she got me into folk music, and that's how it started for me. And then I went with Johnny Cash, and I got a Gibson Dove. We got the last two Gibson Doves.
What are you talking about? Wait, what do you mean? She knew Johnny? Did she know Johnny?
Of course I knew Johnny. I had Roger Miller on Mercury.
No. How did Cass help you? Did she know Johnny Cash, or how did she get you?
No. Johnny Cash and I got at Manny's in New York, picked up the last two runs of the old...
At Manny's
Doves.
Music? Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh, my. Kornfeld, you're blowing my mind right now, dude.
I was taking the subway into the city for years.
Did you know Milt Jackson? Those cats used to hang out. Kenny Durham used to hang out there all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm saying, so you're in the cafeteria. You were basically...
Oh, and there's a girl singing folk music with a guitar case open, and people were dropping money in it, and I was working at the steam table. And then I was a musician, so we started to talk, and then she started to play. We get together and hang out, and then she talked me into getting a guitar, and I got a cheap guitar, and then later on, Johnny said, Artie, if you're going to get a guitar, try to get one of the last original Gibson Doves.
Oh, my God, Cash, dude.
He said, Manny's going to have to.
Oh,
and I met him at Manny's, and we picked up our guitars. I knew him because Roger Miller was a friend.
So you were writing...
Mercury had a good country department.
Mercury had an amazing country department. Actually, some of the stuff you put out was in... I guess you put it out on... you put a lot of Gene Pitney stuff out, too.
Well, yeah, Gene Pitney did some of my songs. And also, two friends of mine did the Pied Piper, and they died. And that was... Bobby Fuller did the Pied Piper. You know my song was Pied Piper?
Absolutely, of course.
On the Pied Piper.
Did you? Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I did the first version. I was the Changing Times. And I was on the I Got You Babe tour with Sonny and Cher for 28 cities.
From picking up a guitar at Manny's, how did you get closer to upper management at Capitol?
Oh, no, Capitol came after me.
Now, why were they? You had just picked up a Gibson and you were playing.
No, I met Charles Compliment in a staff bar at Queens College. He had just signed with Donnie Kirster. I said I made a $50 demo, which I did, and he said, "Well, I'm now the head of a song plugin for Screen Gems Music. It's the hottest publishing company in the world," which it was. We were getting more BMI awards in Motown, and we didn't have our own artists.
Wow.
And I got lost. I flashed back to those
No,
days.
you're fine. So you went in and you.
So Charlie said to me, "Do you really have a demo?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, why don't you come in tomorrow?" So I had to take the Long Island Railroad and connect with a subway.
Yes, dude. I did that all the time.
Yeah, and I got the screen. Well, it was 1650 Broadway because we hadn't moved to Screen Gems yet. It was Nevins Kirsten music.
Right.
Yeah, I was a Nevins Kirsten writer, and Charlie liked it, so he played it for Donnie, and I left with a $500 advance from BMI and $125 a week advance against royalties.
Dude, Artie this.
And then I met Jan Berry. So within my first 4 months, I had 3 songs in the top 20.
What were the radio stations that were giving you a lot of love? I mean, and first of all, the other question is this: freeform radio didn't exist at that time, and I'm trying to square the circle here. Like,
no, BAI was one of the first freeforms, and Air America. That Danny Goldberg, who started Air America, was on my promotion staff for Woodstock.
Are you kidding me? How old was he?
He was a kid.
Yeah. So, do you remember, like, ultimately, did you ever meet Timothy Leary?
Yeah.
Can you talk about him?
I'll tell you just a quick story. When Tim was in jail, I was staying with Rosemary the week he got out of jail, and I was staying with Rosemary at their apartment in Berkeley. That's how close I was to that.
Wait a minute. Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Rosemary was...
And I knew Fetch and Gretchen very well.
I want to talk... You know what? She's... let's just talk about Fetch and Gretchen, the piano player with the Merry Pranksters. She is an enigma to me. Break it down. I want to know the whole relationship.
Oh, Fetch and Gretchen.
I cannot believe you... Ken Babs.
She was married to Ken Kesey.
No, okay, so, I mean, when did you first... Well, first of all, Leary... Who was Rosemary? Leary's girl?
Rosemary was great. Was she beautiful?
Oh my God! All right, so Fetch and when did she come into the mix with Kornfeld?
Oh no, I went out with. I had a hit with Bert Summer, who was in Woodstock, but didn't get the movie, and I made the movie deal. It's all my deal.
Right.
And they didn't put Bert in, and so I put out "We're All Playing in the Same Band" that he wrote at Woodstock on my own label, and it went top 20. So I went out to see Tom Donahue with K-Sam.
I love this.
Yeah, in fact,
this is fantastic.
I knocked Tom and Rachel Donahue off the air because I lived in Florida, and I had some incredible Colombian blonde, and I got him stoned, and Tom Donahue took the station off the air by mistake for an hour.
He was so stoned, dude.
He couldn't find out. Well, he was a friend of mine. I know him from just hanging out.
Oh my God, dude. So the station went down, and then then
it was funny because when I had the councils on the Ed Sullivan Show, I was the first producer that I had the strength with Ed that he let me come in and mix the councils before they did the show. We're not even a sound check. I worked up for 4 hours.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to get off this tangent. You went out you politicked for Bert Summer. Where is Gretchen Fetch? Where is she?
Gretchen Fetch. When I went to San Francisco to promote Bert Summer, I went to the Trident restaurant and saw Selena because I was staying at Tommy. I was going to see Tommy Smothers, who lived in Mill Valley.
Oh my God!
And I went into the
Trident. Dude, Denny Zeitlin's playing there. What the heck is going on?
Yeah, no. I all I know is that I left a Nikon F and 14 lenses there when I left, and then I called, and this girl got on, She says, Artie, I waited on you, and I have your camera. And I was at Tommy Smothers' house. So I said, which was only 10 minutes away. So I went over, we met, and whatever it was, it was. But she was really fun to be up with.
You guys were an item for a while.
No.
But I mean,
try hours.
So, did you hang with the Merry Pranksters at some point?
Who?
Ken Kesey and those cats.
No, I didn't hang with them. I knew them.
Right, but she was working at the Trident, and after that, you never.
Yeah, they were breaking up, I think, at that point.
Wow. So the movie itself with Burt Summer made top 20.
No, the record I put out on my label, Burt Summer doing well, all playing in the same band, went top 20, even on the national radio shows where they listen to top 20s. Yeah, it was a great record, and if it wasn't for politics, it would have been the number one record. And Burt Summer would have been. I made the movie deal 4 days before Woodstock.
Right.
There was no movie deal. And I made the record deal, too. In fact, the contract with Warner Brothers, that only reason there's a Woodstock movie is because when Freddie Weintraub managed Leon Bibb and owned the bitter end, he came to see me at Capitol and I signed Leon Bibb. So they had turned down Woodstock Ventures. I was busy promoting it, trying to get 500,000 people, and I did. So that worked, but oh God, there's just so many memories.
Dude, we've been cooking for 35 minutes. You're not in pain anymore.
No, I'm in a lot of pain.
Do you want to?
Got me.
Yeah.
I just shifted to another place.
Oh, dude, you are. I mean, you already. It's Mother's Day. I feel so honored to talk to you. We all have loss in our life and void, but I just wanted you to talk a little bit about how love has sustained you in your career and in your personal life.
Well, my personal life is Linda Kornfeld, who passed away. She.
How did you meet her?
I met her at the LaSalle Diner in Queens Boulevard. It was a diner that everybody in Forest Hills went to. And I saw this gorgeous girl, and it took me 6 months to get the nerve. And what happened was, Brian and I and Jan did Dead Man's Curve. And I said to Kirsten, it's not fair. Jan has a Corvette, and Brian has a Corvette, and I don't have one. So Donnie gave me money, and I bought a Corvette. Then it was pouring out, and I had looked at this girl for 6 months. I was afraid to talk to her. If you go on the wall, you'll see pictures of her. A picture of her that's incredible. She was a model, Linda.
Yeah, well, she looked. The picture of her on the cover was what attracted me immediately. And then I saw this other guy, and I was like, this dude looks like a complete psychedelic Doors of Perception cat. Turned out to be Arti Kornfeld. Unbelievable. How have you dealt with losing people in your life?
Hard. How do I deal with it?
Well, I mean, everybody loses. Like there
was an old song in the 50s. Every day I have to cry. And the fact that I meditated, because John and Paul got me into meditation when they came back from India.
So
I was doing.
What about? I mean, I thought George was the meditation cat. Those all.
Well, I didn't know George. I was friends with John, with Paul, and John and I met in the studio at the record plant, and for about a month, I was doing a session in the studio next to him, and I got his band together on Double Fantasy. And him and I, after we got finished at 2 a.m, we'd sit for a couple of hours for about a month every night. We never talked about the Beatles, and we never talked about Woodstock. We just talked about life. So I got to know John on that level.
So you went out to L.A. to do that?
No, I was in New York on 8th Avenue at the record plant.
Yeah, the Hit Factory.
Yeah. No, well, the record plant came before the Hit Factory.
What was I going to say? I'm looking
If
here.
you take a look, you'll see Imagine was cut at the record plant.
This is sick. First of all, my dear old friend, rest in peace, Howard Johnson's on this. Andy Newmark played drums. Again,
I know Andy. I know Andy.
No, but you said you put the band together, right?
No, but I know no. Which on John stuff?
Yeah, you said you got that band together for him.
There was just a bunch of guys: McCracken, David Spinoza, Kenny Asher. The piano player. Kenny played the piano on Bridge Over Troubled Waters. Yeah, it was a very tight thing. There was the musicians unions where we all hung out in New York.
Can you talk about the best at being an arranger and a writer with the horn sections? Back then, not every horn was mic'd, so the unit had to balance themselves. Who were the best guys at being balanced in terms of horn players that you called into the studio?
Well, to tell you the truth, it was Arti Kaplan who put together the rhythm sections and the horn
Kaplan
sections.
Did?
Yeah. Kaplan played the solo on Locomotion.
No, you told me that.
Arti Kaplan played the solo on 290 rock records that were hits.
So you would.
He was a top contractor in the rock days.
Absolutely. So is it fair to say that he would get production credits for some of those songs if he did the arrangements, or no?
No, I was a producer of all my records.
Right, but times have changed. Like Louis Shelton did a guitar solo on a Monkey's Last Train to...
and I I produced Davy Jones when he was in Oliver because my friend Lionel Barr, the British guy who died.
Right.
Sir Lionel Barr was a friend of mine, and Davy Jones's manager came to see me when I was with Donnie Kirshner. So I took Davy Jones in and cut him. Yeah, and it was so funny because I turned the Monkees down. And I turned down the Dave Clark 5 because I said, I don't want to produce musicians that aren't really musicians. I don't want to produce actors.
Right.
And you know what? The Partridge Family, I had gotten together and it was called the Cowsills Family. And the father was a drunken bum, ripped the kids off for $50 million. The Rain in the Park was huge. It still is around the world. And that album went platinum too. The Cowsills album. They got released from Mercury. I didn't even want to produce it. And I got off the road with Chuck Berry. And, I did that internet show that I got 24 million hits in 5 years.
You were playing the Chitlin circuit with Chuck Berry?
Yeah, well, I was at Mercury, so I went on the road with Chuck.
Well, you were at Mercury as a...
It's like it's stopping from getting arrested.
Sure.
Yeah.
So even though you were... So you were playing like rhythm guitar on that tour?
No, I was just out there representing Mercury.
I dig. So
I was a vice president of rock music at Mercury.
All right, so let me ask you a question.
I had Jackie Wilson,
Who else?
I put out Tommy James because I hated the record Hanky Panky so bad when I came in. And I knew Tommy, so I threw the record out. Tommy didn't know it was out, and he was working in a Jiffy Lube, in Pennsylvania. And the record was #1, and he didn't know it was out.
Dude, this is why I do my show, man. That's the greatest story ever.
In his book, he wrote twice. It was funny because Neil Young, in his book he wrote, the one before this one, he said Artie Kornfeld was the greatest music man in the history of America.
The greatest what?
That's what Neil Young called me in his book.
What did he say? Greatest music man?
He said Artie Kornfeld's the greatest music man in the history of America.
I agree with him 100%.
Well, I don't know. I'm still over.
I mean, dude, to get the amount of things that you got across the finish line, so many great ideas, very few get accomplished. You completed so much.
Like when I went into college, by the sophomore year, I was president of my class, and then I pitched a I pitched a perfect game against West Point. At West Point. No, I was always.
You had the knuckleball going, dude.
Yeah, I told you about that.
No, I just guessed. I figured. I'm like, he's probably throwing a knuckler, dude.
Yeah, it was great because you never knew where I was going.
Wait, hold on. That was your nasty pitch, wasn't it? Were you
Well,
just
I couldn't. Starting in Little League, I could never learn a curve.
right?
I could never throw a curve.
Right.
And I knew Eddie Lopat was a great knuckleball pitcher in the 50s. And I used to watch him, and then I saw the way he held the ball. And the guys now, they throw a knuckleball, they use the tips of their fingers. But now I can't throw because of my injuries.
Hold on for a second. What kind of sport did this guy
out.
play? What kind of sport did he play?
Well, I led in 5 sports.
No. The guy who threw the knuckler with his hands really tight in.
His name was Eddie Lopat.
And what did he play? He played baseball?
He was a big knuckleballer in the major leagues.
Okay, and he held it differently than the way the guys do today.
Well, they throw it with the tips of their fingers, not their knuckles.
He literally threw it with his knuckles.
And I threw my knuckles.
Oh my God, dude! Where is? I need a radio. I need some kind of radio playback from that West Point. Was there any broadcast of that?
No, that wasn't broadcast. No, not in those days. This was in 1961.
This is the great. So, what was the field like? I mean, it was like it wasn't.
It was gorgeous. Yeah, here you have kids driving 9 hours in a bus from Long Island up to West Point.
Oh my God, dude! I love this.
We stayed over and we ate with the cadets.
And you were just throwing the Nuxie, and they couldn't do anything with it.
No, nothing.
Did you work with Bill Graham a lot?
Well, yeah, because I was with Neil Young and Elliot Roberts for 4 years, and I did 4 bridge concerts with them.
What was did you like
Neil Young's benefit concert?
Absolutely.
Neil hired me. I can't even tell you how much he paid me over 4 years. I gave him his first 2 platinum albums. I paid him about $40 million extra.
You feel like you were not compensated fairly?
No, I did Rockin' in the Free World. I promoted Rockin' in the Free World, Harvest Moon. I did those 2 albums, and then Elliot Roberts. I turned down Rick Ocasek because he did a solo album, and I met with him and his Russian model wife.
Right.
Pretty spectacular. Hey. No, there's a million things. My back is killing me.
Hey,
you want to call me during the week?
Yeah, man. Did you? I mean, I just wanted to take you out of the gloom for a minute. I just, we had. I think we got some great.
You got me into it, and you're talking about the days I loved.
Hey, man.
And if I wasn't hurting so bad.
Hey, man. We'll do set. I'll call you this week.
Yeah, give me a call, bro.
Hey, man. Listen, just feel better, man. Take it easy.
Hey, be content, as we say.
Hey, man. Much love to you, baby.
Okay, you too, bro.
Take care, bro.